Always good to threaten the goal line. Ethan Henry will be pivotal for the Westerners in midfield, but they'll be wary of leaking goals like they did against Dublin. It should be a good one. Throw-in is at 3 o'clock.
And our coverage of the Minor Championship is brought to you by Electric Ireland. There is nothing minor about playing minor. It is the opening weekend of the Premier League season. The very best analysis to come every single Saturday afternoon from Johnny Ward.
How are you?
We're back.
We're back, yeah. It's
Football's back, Johnny.
The FAI Cup.
Football's back, Johnny.
Football's back.
Football's back.
Yeah.
Go on, I'm just trying to rile you up. Dan McDonnell's getting riled up about it. So much so he's refused to come in until 3 o'clock.
Until 3 o'clock, yeah.
Fine.
He didn't realise that we do have to rush off to Croke Park to see Mayo dethrone the 5-in-a-row ambitions and all that.
Why are you taking tickets from Mayo people? You a Galway man, just because you had a year of no success.
No success on any level. Galway United's first meaningful game in 3 or 4 months tomorrow, and could be their last meaningful game for a long time tomorrow, playing Collinstown in Whitehall. Johnny McDonnell, former Pats manager, I think he's involved in Belvo now, reliably informed me that it's one of the best pints that you'll ever get in the bar in Whitehall, the home farm bar, and went along when they were playing Cork City last season, and he's absolutely right. So I'm looking forward to that.
All right, so you're going to the match?
Going to the Galway United match.
I got some advice earlier. No, you're going to that match.
And going to Croker.
A message for my good self, because I was wondering about whether the taxi would get us there in time. Dublin bikes available from just outside Newstalk. Can leave it at the bike station on North Circular Road near the Hogan Stand pub. Only takes 50 minutes to cycle, so you'll definitely make the match. From the Ballyhonest man who met Nathan in the waiting area of Newstalk before going on with Ivan Yates recently.
Yeah, we'd be getting a cab.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But what if we're stuck in the... See, getting over the bridge at the moment is a bloody nightmare. Do you know an alternative route?
No, but I'm of the opinion that there'll be no traffic at that time because everyone will have gone.
I was kind of going with that as well.
Much earlier. I'm afraid
it's a 38-minute walk. No, you'd be bloody wrecked.
Yeah, and we'd be full of sweat. It's one of those horrible days where it's very warm but wet as well, so you don't really know what to wear. It's kind of weather that doesn't know what it's doing. But the weather, is it expected to be, like, I know it's going to lash at some stage, and that's kind of the great hope for Mayo, that it might, in theory, neutralise the difference between the teams.
Well, Michael Kirkin pointed out yesterday that Dublin haven't lost the game. I'm not sure if he was joking about this and it was a made-up stat, but I presume not, considering he's from the Irish Times and the
Malachi's top-notch.
Top-notch. How does he know that?
He's a great man, by all accounts, to write a match report, like basically on the final whistle, that's full of meaning and gravitas that you just shouldn't be able to write on the whistle. And writing a report on the whistle is an extremely...
but how does he know the statistics? So when he has his book of stats and results...
A lot of mad weather up there.
So there's an obsession with it. Does he have weather forecasts throughout the game at the end of his little notebook? Well, either way, he says they haven't lost since 2008 against Tyrone, Dublin, in bad weather.
Well, put it this way: if the ball is going to be very greasy today, there's no doubt about that. And regardless of how well prepared you are, and I remember going back to 1996 or 97 when Galway played in Castlebar and John Mahon was the Mayo manager, and there was a lot of hype that Galway were favourites to win the game, but I remember Mayo changed their footwear at half time, and it was the big thing. And I think Bosco McDermott might have been the Galway manager at the time, and the notion was that John Mahon's he's just more advanced and he's more sort of with the modern game, but it was in incredibly kind of slippy conditions. But regardless of what, if you're playing football in that conditions, regardless of what gloves you are, it's hard to hold on to the ball, so it just might make it a little bit closer. I genuinely think Mayo have a big chance of giving them a right rattle today.
Lots more to come on that, no doubt. Ireland have scored another try heading for half-time. They lead by 19 points to 10 against Italy. So, Premier League is back. Liverpool started last night with a 4-1 victory against Norwich. Could Manchester City match them? Of course they could. They were playing West Ham in the opening game of today. Watching this one at the London Stadium. Guy Swindles.
West Ham 0, Manchester City 5. City superb. Raheem Sterling to the fore with a wonderful hat-trick. There were also goals for Jesus and for Aguero from the penalty spot. But in the second half, VAR controversies rather overshadowed events on the field when City had a good goal disallowed for a fractional offside, and Aguero got to retake the penalty in absurd circumstances. West Ham 0, Manchester City 5.
Wow, Raheem Sterling starts the season with a hat-trick, and Manchester City laying down a bit of a marker, much like Liverpool last night, that maybe it will just be a head-to-head between these two teams.
It is a bit worrying though, Nathan, that like West Ham are not a bad side, and for the first half they were sort of thereabouts. They gave away one goal. The incredible speed, the speed of attack for that first goal, the full-back down the right,
Kyle Walker.
I've the burst of pace he showed, but then after that, so I left the game, came in here, and I was thinking maybe 2 or 3-0. It's a little bit demoralising, to see that the Liverpool game was over after 20 minutes last night. I don't know, the gap between the have and the have-nots. Is it going to be a pretty boring Premier League in many respects?
Well, it hasn't even properly started yet, and Johnny's writing it off already. Dan McDonnell has joined us. New plan for this season. We're just going to have rolling guests. Some people will come in whenever they feel like it.
I'm perfectly on time here for the 3 to 5 slot.
We said 2:30 earlier in the week. You, for some reason, thought we were joking.
Well, what happened was...
Why did we joke about this?
Well, let's have full disclosure here. If you're prepared for full disclosure. What happened was you said you're in for 3 to 5 and usual. Absolutely. Johnny pipes up, Nathan, you're from Mayo, you're not going to the game. And you were like, oh crap, yeah, let's do 2:30 till 4:30.
What was that about?
Which I assumed was a joke.
You're slagging me. How are you going to be here till 5 o'clock and get to Croke Park?
But I'm not. I'm leaving at 4:30.
Yeah, but you didn't tell us this until Thursday or something.
Yeah.
So Dan has made a lot of plans, probably involving going to B&Q, and this has screwed up his day.
I apologise, Dan, for that. It won't happen again.
It's fine.
Well, it will not happen again.
I won't be in competition after today.
So,
the man doesn't watch a Gaelic football game year in, year out.
That was.
I hope they do, but
that was uncalled for. So
Kevin Kilbane missing out as well.
Yeah.
So I was in a deli in Disbury.
Yeah.
Looked nice though.
Did actually,
yeah, he's on live in the BBC all day, missing the All-Ireland semi-final. So we are here throughout the afternoon till 5 o'clock. We're on 1 to 5 every Saturday now, and 1 to 7 every Sunday, because we're back with live and exclusive commentary of the Premier League every single Sunday. 2 games tomorrow, starting with Newcastle against Arsenal. Pat Nevin and Stephen Doyle at that one at 2 o'clock. And it's now a 4:30 kickoff every Sunday. The big game is Manchester United against Chelsea. Myself and Kev will be over at that, so we're here till 7 o'clock every single Sunday. Tech Talk now coming your way with Jess Kelly from 5 o'clock every single Saturday. So let's talk about the Premier League. And Liverpool and City have started with victories. There are many teams just starting out at 3 o'clock. 4 matches. We have reporters at all of these. And let's go around the ground, starting at the Vitality Stadium. Bournemouth against newly promoted Sheffield United. Peter Hood.
Chris Wilder, the Sheffield United manager, gives his championship promotion players a chance to shine on the opening day of the Premier League season, as he names only one of his new signings, Callum Robinson, for the game against Bournemouth. Eddie Howe, the Bournemouth boss, gives a debut to Aaron Ramsdale, the young keeper, and new signing Philip Billing, with another new signing, Harry Wilson, taking his place on the substitutes bench. Is Bournemouth against Sheffield United at the Vitality Stadium.
So obviously Sheffield United with a strong Irish interest in their team and looking through
for
it.
them, yeah.
John Egan starts at centre back, Enda Stevens is on the left side, on the left wing, and then Dave McGoldrick and Callum Robinson is a front 2 for Sheffield United. So we'll be keeping a very close eye on that, and that may be a game for our listeners to keep an eye on as well. Because
this is a great idea.
I heard this earlier on, actually.
Great slot.
No,
Great idea.
It's absolutely groundbreaking.
It is.
It would actually make me even want to listen to the show if I weren't on it. It's a bit of a stretch, but can you give us an impression of the noise we're going to have to listen to?
I think I have an impression.
The great thing about modern radio, but the resources we have available to us, is that we actually have. So here's what's going to happen every single Saturday afternoon when the lads are in studio between 2 o'clock and 5 o'clock. If an Irish player scores a goal in the Premier League, you will hear this, because that is the piece of music. The second you hear it, you think something's happening with Irish football.
Yeah.
Something good is happening.
And I did hear you discuss this with Neil earlier on. I mean, is there a precedent for guys who haven't fully declared yet? There has to be some sort of...
Who is this? Who is this person?
Nathan Redmond.
Someone like Nathan Redmond,
We're not giving a prize for Nathan Redmond. And as I said, Declan Rice, no chance. That music is not getting played for Nathan Redmond. It's just not happening. But if that does happen, and you hear that happening, it means that an Irish player has scored. Text us the name of the player that scored and your own name. This week we have a Google Chromecast for a listener for every... So, as I said, Callum Robinson...
2 seasons ago, how many Irish goals were scored in the Premier League?
I think we had 11.
11.
And that was...
Many were on Saturday, do you reckon?
Well, I have been asked that at senior management level of how much this is going to cost us.
Budgeted for 3 prizes.
And I did say, well...
all of a sudden. Troy Parrott comes out as a superstar, and that sort of sting is playing every 20 minutes.
Callum Robinson gets 10 goals. Shane Duffy has the season of his life. You see, this is the one risk with this, is that because there's no Irish players playing at a top 6 team. The top 6 teams, luckily for us and off the ball, generally play on a Sunday. The best games are often on a Sunday. From 3 to 5 is actually when most of the Irish players are going to be playing in the Premier League. So, yeah, we may have
Coleman
to...
made captain as well?
I don't think any great surprise there. He was captain last season.
But when you lads head off now at 4:30 in a very unprofessional manner to the Mayo game, what happens if Callum Robinson scores a 20 to 5?
Oh, it'll still happen.
Is it going to come into
Neil is well on top of this.
Is it going to drop into the GEA build-up?
It will. Just randomly. As
out of nowhere.
Peak Mayo. Well, see, that's the beauty of it. Out of nowhere, you're driving along going, oh, that means something's happened.
Yeah.
I need to turn that up, listen to the lads. It's just a little hook, Dan.
Did you come up with that idea?
I did. I had all summer to come up with something, and that's as good as I got.
But you should extend it to all news talk programming, though. You know, tech talk out of nowhere, interrupted by a 3-second.
That'd be spectacular.
Out of nowhere, someone scored in a 5 game.
Future-proof at 12, talking about climate change, and suddenly...
out of nowhere.
That is a fantastic idea.
There you go.
I might go with that. So anyways, that's Sheffield United. 4 Irish players starting for Sheffield United. And obviously there was a lot of talk.
What happened today?
The one disappointment. Yeah, Bournemouth is the one disappointing one because Mark Travers isn't one of the 2 keepers, and the young lad Aaron Ramsdale, who's an English fella who was signed from Sheffield United actually as a kid, I think, and was on loan last year. He's come in as their number 1 this year. So
is that totally out of the blue?
Well, no, they didn't. There'd been a bit of discussion that he might be the one. They didn't sign like a recognised goalkeeper this summer, so that was good news for Travers. And I suppose, I mean, he is up against a relatively unknown 21-year-old English player who has, if he has a bad game or two, but Boric is number 2 on the bench, so I mean Travers is 3, or there's Begovic I think there too, so that's the only slight disappointment.
We will get into the Irish prospects in the Premier League and beyond over the next little while, but let's go to Turf Moor, where again there should be some Irish interest. Burnley against Southampton. Adam Drury.
Burnley start with 3 changes from the lineup that lost to Arsenal back in May, and Nick Pope starts in goal after Tom Heaton was sold to Aston Villa. Elsewhere, Johan Goodmanson starts ahead of Jeff Hendrick, and Eric Peters makes his debut at left-back over Charlie Taylor. For Southampton, it's 2 changes from the sides who drew with Huddersfield back in May, Che Adams making his Saints debut ahead of Shane Long, and a switch to 3-4-3 sees Yannick Vestergaard preferred over Pierre Højbjerg. It's Burnley versus Southampton at Turf Moor.
So looking at the 2 sides there, no Irish players actually starting, unless you count Nathan Redmond, but Kevin Long is on the bench, as is Jeff Hendrick for Burnley, and Michael Obafemi among the substitutes for Southampton today. Shane Long not involved in the squad at all. Is he still injured?
I'm not so sure about that. Robbie Brady's injured.
Robbie Brady's got a rib injury. He's going to keep him out for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, so he's not in the Burnley squad, but yeah, I'm not so sure with Long, to be honest. It's good that Obafemi's back, because like these hamstring problems that he's had, there was a suggestion the last one could be pretty serious. Now, I think it was season ending and basically was. So hopefully he's had a good pre-season.
As I go through these, I do worry about how much trouble I'm going to get in for this great idea that I had, because also a lot of Irish interest at Selhurst Park. Crystal Palace against Everton, Ian Beach.
Well, Crystal Palace manager Roy Hodgson has decided to leave Wilfried Zaha on the bench. Perhaps understandable in the circumstances. He could have joined Everton in the summer. Arsenal were also interested, but he is staying with Palace. So we may well see him appear later on. Gary Cahill's only a substitute for Crystal Palace, and Everton also lead new signing Moise Kean on the bench. That's Crystal Palace against Everton at Selhurst Park.
James McCarthy among the substitutes for Palace against his former side. Seamus Coleman captaining Everton. Sidibe not even involved in the squad, so obviously not quite match fit just yet. Finally, let's go to Watford against Brighton, and Andrew Cheal.
Record signing Ismail Sarr must wait for his Watford debut. He's not even on the bench for the home side, but summer arrival Craig Dawson does start in central defence. Otherwise, it's a starting 11 looking very familiar from last season. Brighton's record signing Adam Webster also has to wait for his debut. Locadia starts, as does the evergreen Glenn Murray. It's Watford-Brighton at Vicarage Road.
Off the Ball football coverage is in association with Paddy Power. Join the hashtag #SaveOurShirt movement today. Remember to gamble sensibly. For more, check out dunlewy.net. So 4 3:00 kickoffs in the Premier League. Spurs take on Aston Villa at 5:30. Manchester City, the champions, going for 3 in a row in the Premier League, have beaten West Ham 5-0 in the early game at the London Stadium. Dan and Johnny with us in studio for the afternoon. Damien Delaney going to join us as well. But for now, we'll take a quick break.
Join the conversation. Text us on 53106. Texts cost 30 cents.
For students returning to education, NCI is unbeatable. I'm Will Fitzgerald, and I'm living proof of that.
Prove to yourself what you can do with National College of Ireland's wide range of full and part-time courses. Come to our open evening on Wednesday, August 14th from 5 to 7 p.m. in the IFSC. Call 1850 221 721 or visit ncirl.ie.
Rule back to school at Eason with our amazing half-price stationery offers, including Bic Crystal Fun Pen 10-pack, now $3.30. And half-price Bic HB Evolution Graphite Pencils 8-pack, only $2.99. Save in-store and online with even more great back-to-school offers. Terms and conditions apply. Eason. Be inspired.
Do you have a TV licence? Inspectors are calling to unlicensed homes and businesses. If you don't, that can mean prosecution and a fine of up to €1,000. It's the law, so get yours at tvlicence.ie or at any post office. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
With over 15,000 coolers available to hire or buy, HSS Hire has a cooling solution for every workplace. Research shows staff are happier when their surroundings are comfortable. And with HSS Hire's range of fans, air conditioners and coolers, you can transform hot and stuffy into cool and calm. Drop into your local HSS. We've branches nationwide in Dublin, Waterford, Cork, Limerick and Galway, and get up to 50% off your first hire. HSS Hire, you're better equipped.
Be confident in the next car you buy. At Dundeal, you can find cars from over 1,000 trusted dealerships nationwide. Now you can search for cars with warranties and monthly finance options to meet your budget. Dundeal, Ireland's largest car showroom in the palm of your hand.
That's the sound of children playing in a muddy field. This doesn't bother Emma, as she purchased the 10 kg Hoover washing machine from Harvey Norman recommended by our expert staff, as its large capacity is perfect for endless piles of muddy clothes. Emma got this washing machine at a great price of just €299, saving her €130. So be like Emma and upgrade to a large capacity washing machine today at Harvey Norman. And don't forget, at Harvey Norman we'll match all competitors' prices on home appliances.
No! Uniform is just a name, but no two kids are just the same.
At Dunnes Stores, our back-to-school uniform range includes adjustable skirts and trousers from just €4.50. All in a range of colours and sizes. Because the only thing uniform is their uniform.
With uniforms, there are no norms because they don't mean uniform.
Dunnes Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply.
What about your man playing up front? He's on fire at the minute. Game will be over by half time.
Thanks, Mr. Taxi Man. But opinions nicked from Sports Radio won't help us hit the jackpot. The Hunch just picks the first 4 scorers in 4 selected games with Betway's 4 to score. Conversation over.
Heed your hunch with Betway's 4 to score for a weekly rollover jackpot. Selections must be submitted before the opening time of each scheduled round. Where there is more than one winner, main prize will be divided between winners. Full terms apply. 18+. Dunlewy.net.
Across Ireland on 106 to 108 FM and at newstalk.com. This is Newstalk.
Good afternoon from the newsroom. I'm Fiona Ash. Malaysian police say they're greatly concerned for the welfare of Nora Quarren as the search for the missing Irish teen continues for a 7th day. The 15-year-old who has special needs hasn't been seen since last Sunday when she disappeared from a resort near Kuala Lumpur. Gardaí have sent a liaison officer to Malaysia to help in the search operation. Nora's mother Maeve has praised everyone who's helped. Local journalist Beatrice Nita J says despite her family's talk of a possible abduction, Malaysian police are not considering it.
They have ruled out the possibility of abduction. They believe that she has gone missing, so they still believe that perhaps maybe, because Nora is a child with special needs, so maybe she might be afraid of the noise and things like that. But it has been 7 days.
At least 18 people have been killed and dozens are missing after a typhoon hit the coast of eastern China. Chinese state TV claims more than 1 million people have been forced to leave their homes. More than 200 houses have collapsed, thousands more are damaged, and Shanghai Disneyland has been closed. The cost of a package holiday is likely to rise as part of plans to better protect holidaymakers when travel agents go out of business. The Commission for Aviation Regulation wants to top up a compensation fund with a 0.1% levy on travel agents' turnover. The Commission says the fund is vital to protect customers. But Paul Hackett, Chief Executive of Click & Go, says it's not fair for legitimate travel agents to bear the cost of firms running without big enough backup funds of their own.
The main collapse was low-cost holidays in 2016, which cost them $3.5 million from the Travellers Protection Fund. And that could have been avoided if the Commission had been doing their job as a regulator and regulating the industry correctly. Low costs were underbonded and it's cost the Commission. The Commission are now coming back to the legitimate travel trade industry and suggesting that we pay for their mistakes. It's absolutely outrageous.
Don't forget, for all the latest news updates, you can go to our website. That's newstalk.com.
News Talk Weather.
Thanks to the AA. For great value car, home and travel insurance, go to the aa.ie.
Showers will merge to longer spells of rain in places, some heavy and prolonged with the risk of spot flooding. Thunderstorms are also likely. Highest temperatures 16 to 19 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Ireland lead Italy 19 points to 10 heading into the second half of their World Cup warm-up at the Aviva Stadium. Tries from Joey Carberry, Dave Carney and Andrew Conway. Our main focus though, between now and 5 o'clock, is on the Premier League and also of course on Mayo against Dublin. We'll check in with Ross Munley about 4:30 to build up to that. But already today, Manchester City have laid down something of a marker with a 5-0 win away at West Ham United in their opening game of the season. A hat-trick for Raheem Sterling in the second half. Sergio Aguero came off the bench to score a penalty after Gabriel Jesus opened the scoring. Dan McDonnell and Johnny Ward in studio. Either of you see anyone stopping City?
No.
Good chat.
Come on, Johnny, something provocative.
No, when you look at De Bruyne today, and you just think they've effectively a new player from last season. Their bench is very strong. Listen to one of the previews of one of the kind of podcast previews of the season. The XG for last season, the expected goals, which has become I think actually a very good, valuable tool in terms of getting through the fluff of a game and understanding what statistically should have happened. Liverpool effectively overachieved, which isn't a surprise because they had that many points. And Manchester City, without De Bruyne for most of the season, still beat them. I can't see them not win the league.
The one thing that I was thinking watching Liverpool last night, who were very impressive going forward, is that we sort of seem to forget, because they went on to win the Champions League and kept it going in the Premier League right to the very end. There were a large part of the seasons where there was feeling Liverpool weren't playing very well. That actually this was all going to fall apart at any second, and it never did. And Salah and Firmino both look so sharp right at the start of the season. And maybe this is one of the things that has changed in football over the last couple of years, is that there's no real finding your feet into the season anymore. You talk to any of the players, it was a 3-week holiday. That's all they had. There's no putting on body fat. There's no coming back half a stone overweight. These guys are in as good a physical condition now as they were at the end of last season, if not better, because they've had some freshening up. That it's not going to take teams 6 games to get into a run of things, maybe trying to integrate some of the new signings in that. But actually, all these guys look 100% at it right from the start.
Yeah, well, no, they did seem to be. I was at a game last night, so I've only seen highlights, but that was certainly the impression of it. I suppose there's a balancing act though. You got someone like Mane coming back last night, having had a sort of very, very short break, and when we've seen with someone like Alexis Sanchez in recent years that actually, played at a very high level and fantastically effective, and then almost seems to have hit a burnout point. And maybe there's a bit of mental fatigue there with him as much as any kind of physical thing.
Alexis Sanchez was, I don't want to say he was an outlier because a lot of them are probably almost getting, but I remember covering an Arsenal game towards the end of his run, and just one Saturday night finding myself spending hours on this, looking at which of the elite players had played the most games. And because Chile had got to the Copa America final 2 years in a row,
2 in a row, yeah,
and there was a World Cup in there as well, he had played something like 20 games more than Messi, Ronaldo, all the other leading players in the world, and he's never recovered probably from that burnout.
No, he hasn't. So, that's the cautionary note with someone like Mane, who was probably their most important attacker last year for the reasons you mentioned, because the other two maybe weren't at it for a period of time. So, you just have to be mindful of that sometimes the players that spring into the new season looking brilliantly fresh and stuff.
By November, December.
Yeah, it sort of depends on obviously their Champions League draw, how demanding that is there a facility to rest players? There's all these other factors that come into it. But yeah, right. I mean, there was that period last year where Liverpool were actually, I think in a Fulham in certain games where they sort of, they were struggling through them and getting late goals. And you talk about XG and all this stuff. There was an element of efficiency about what they were doing, that they were they were grinding it out without necessarily being scintillating for periods. But Yeah, I don't know. There's always a danger of death by analysis of the first game of a season, and like reading a lot into it was still probably a fixture that in April they could probably win that game in the same manner, and you wouldn't necessarily look for certain signs from it. But I mean, in Salah in particular, I think it was commented on, I think by Kev, who was at the Community Shield, how fresh he looked at that game as well. So clearly he's actually, having had the slog of trying to make the World Cup summer, and the strain that took on him, I think that probably took a toll on him last year, so he probably is a new man that he's actually had a proper run of it this time around.
It is absolutely preposterous that you look at, I've said several times last season, I didn't think Salah was great for much of last season. As much as many goals as he got, he came from that situation in the World Cup where he was playing clearly not at it. He wasn't fit, had virtually no break, played the whole season. Now he's had the African Nations. So I think it's who's done the scientific study to say that a player can go through this and even long term, like he's not battering his body. The only counterpoint to that is Salah can go through the motions in that game last night, and he can go through the motions in nearly half Liverpool's games, if not more. It was over by 20 minutes, and that's kind of the only thing you could say. But Gary Neville did some analysis afterwards on Liverpool's high line, and that they look very, very vulnerable to any sort of like bog standard through ball.
Gave up a lot of chances last night, gave up a lot of chances in the Community Shield, but were by far and away the best defence in the Premier League last year. So
yeah, Alisson's injury, obviously I don't think it's going to be long term, whatever. That was a slight worry. But before De Bruyne got injured last season, Man City, like bookies were practically were paying out on Man City, and then they got to a situation where Liverpool were nearly 10 points clear. So as Dan said, do not read too much into the first two games, but realistically, like who's going to challenge them? Chelsea can't make signings. Arsenal are miles off. I think Man United are going to down tools in the manager again at some stage. So I would give Spurs sort of the best chance of giving them something of a race, but they won't. Man City are just going to drop hardly any points.
As someone said, I don't know who coined the phrase, feedback. You said the haves and the have-nots. It's like the haves and the have-yachts. Like that's sort of the that's like the Premier League summed up. That there is the ludicrous top end wealth, and they're sort of insulated from a lot of the weaknesses that they might have experienced before.
53106 is the text number if you have any thoughts on the title race or any of the transfers, or in particular any of the Irish players and what the season holds for them in the Premier League or in the Championship. I do like the way that I spent all summer thinking of my brilliant new competition. We can't play the music though, but now because if we play it again, people will think an Irish player scored.
No, you can't play it.
So it'll just be confusing. Not. Whereas Johnny's come forward after this break, and his bright idea is he's going to start talking about XG all season, expected goals.
I just
clearly had a data analysis based chat with someone.
I definitely want to talk at some stage about Dalymount last night. Like it was one of the most ridiculous games I've ever been at.
We will be talking about Dalymount. Don't you worry about that. About Bohemians' victory against Shelbourne.
The boring stuff that was going on at Anfield.
Wow.
Fair, it was obviously great. There were some good goals, top quality football. But amusing story about I think the Dutch guy who kind of just chronicled his day on Twitter, and he became a bit of a mini League of Ireland celebrity because of his reaction to what happened sort of in the second half. Dan gave him a big plug this morning.
He did manage to actually go into that Daily Man chat.
Wow.
Nathan said he'll come back to it later. Don't use up all your lines in one sentence.
I can never use off enough.
I also we're live on all our social channels as well, so leave a comment there. We do love to get your correspondence on a Saturday afternoon. You can comment.
You can comment.
Well, listen, if we're talking about shirts, the most socialist man in Irish media has suddenly come in wearing a Gazprom top.
Just a Zenit top. A
Gazprom top, which I think we can get into a little bit later. But Damien Delaney is on the line, going to join us for the next hour or so as well. Afternoon, Damien.
Hi lads, how are you?
How are you keeping?
Very good, very good.
Are you missing it today?
I'm not, to be honest with you. I know that dreaded first day of the season, nerves, and the games are always a million miles an hour and take forever to settle, and it's usually the hottest day of the year as well. So I was much happier this morning, just hanging around with the family.
You're looking in good shape anyways, and we were talking about pre-season now, maybe compared to even a decade ago, that players were getting simply a 3-week break, that there's no time at all to lose the run of yourself. You have a little bit of a holiday, you try and relax, and even then a lot of the players seem to be out trying to outdo each other on Instagram as to how much training they're doing on their holidays. Did you notice that as your career went on, that you were sort of treating the off-season a bit differently?
Yeah, without doubt. My first, I always took 2 weeks from the last game of the season and did nothing. Barely put one foot in front of the other, really. So, but then you need to start thinking about it, because you're expected back maybe 85-90%. The balls are out on the first day, and usually if you're back on a Monday, there's usually a game on a Saturday, So you're expected back now and just to be topped up for the first few weeks.
We'll look at some of the Irish players and what the season holds for them. Seamus Coleman, one of the more interesting ones because of the signing of Sidibe, the right back, who was so brilliant for Monaco a couple of years ago. Coleman starts today. Sidibe's not in the squad, so presumably he's maybe not coming in quite tip-top shape. And Coleman's club captain now with Phil Jagielka gone, started all the games in pre-season. You've probably been in this position yourself where you're getting to a stage, managers are looking at replacements, they'll give you that chance at the start of the season. Is that how it works out? That, like, do you feel when somebody comes in like that during a transfer window, as a player, did you feel pressure, a different kind of pressure going out onto the pitch?
Yeah, straight away. But that's a good thing. I think the more that happens, the better. Me as a player, I always thought when they sign someone that I had to up my game, and hopefully it'll get the best out of Seamus, because I'm sure knowing Seamus as I do, the last thing he'd want is to slip into a comfort zone and be kind of, knowing he's club captain and he's almost a guaranteed starter. So it's fantastic for him that someone's come in and pushed him, and hopefully it'll help him elevate his game to the next level.
Let's very quickly go to the Aviva Stadium. Ireland 24, Italy 10. Andy Dunn is there. Another try for Ireland, Andy? Andy? No, Andy is temporarily...
We have a Seanie Maguire goal, but it's in the Championship, so you can't play any tune for that.
No, there's no tune for the Championship because we'd be bankrupt.
A little jingle or something.
Because Seanie Maguire could score 20 goals this
season.
Not
a prize, but even just some kind of...
All joking aside, what a start for him, just to get the ground running. He's had nightmare kind of couple of years in terms of stop-starting injuries, and I suppose Sheffield United might be the adopted Irish team at the moment, but in the Championship a lot of eyes still on them. Just delighted for him. Hopefully he stays injury free.
So Preston 1-0 up against Wigan, Hull 1-0 up against Reading, Sheffield Wednesday lead Barnsley by a goal to nil. Earlier Leeds drew 1-1 with Nottingham Forest, so that's the latest in the Championship. Andy Dunn, is there Andy try for Ireland?
Yeah, a nice driven maul from a line out for Jordy Murphy to finish. The fourth try for Ireland, all very similar scores in the sense they've been scored deep in the enemy territory, deep close to the Italian try line, multiple phases with a nice little bit of interplay, usually between forwards and backs. So similar types of scores. Ireland well worth their 24-10 lead at this stage and look like they may dominate for the last 20.
Damien, we've spoken a lot about Seamus Coleman over the last 6-9 months, probably more than any Irish player, and debated his form and fell out about his form and where he was compared to where he was pre-injury. Where do you think he is now compared to pre-injury?
I think he finished the season strong. There was definitely a period there where he had a little bit of a wobble, which is to be expected after a long-term injury, especially the seriousness of injury that he had. Plus, Seamus is getting on in age. He probably isn't as fit and as athletic as what he was. But look, I think Seamus has got plenty of good years left in him. He might have to mildly adjust his game, maybe not be as cavalier as what he has been, be more of a sit and serve right back. And obviously they handed him the captaincy, which means they think a lot of him. And he'll probably be a figurehead for the football club moving forward over the next few years.
Mark Lawrenson was on with us on Thursday on OTB 17, or 17 hours of live coverage on OTB radio, talking about Seamus Coleman, and he is talking about the signing of Sidibe. He thinks age may well be a factor in how Marco Silva picks his team. Seamus Coleman, though, his position at Everton, where he's going to start the season, it seems, as the club captain, now that Phil Jagielka's gone. They've signed Djibril Sidibe on loan from Monaco, and 2-3 years ago, Sidibe looked like he might well be the best right back in Europe. I don't know if you've been in this position where, clubs are maybe looking at whether it's a short-term or long-term replacement in your position. Do you expect Seamus Coleman responds to this as you would expect with him in a professional way and ups his game, or would you look at Sidibe and think this guy's on another level and Coleman may struggle to keep his spot?
No, I think Seamus will respond. It's the only problem is that Sidibe is now Marco Silva's player.
Yeah.
So and Seamus wasn't signed by him; he was signed by Moyo, as we know, and he was absolutely nicked, and he's been unbelievable in what he's done. And you just wonder whether the manager's looking at Seamus and thinking, you know what, I might only get 15 or 20 games out of your max this coming season. I'll get 4 more from Sidibe. So that's the issue that Seamus is going to have. And it will be just playing enough games. It's a bit like Leighton Baines as well as at left back. He's obviously lost his place. Is it Digne? Is that how you pronounce it? The boy from Barca. So it happens. It's just but I don't think if he's not being picked, Mick's not all of a sudden going to say, "Oh, you're not coming to play for Ireland," is he? So I don't think that will be a problem initially.
Let's very quickly go back to the Aviva Stadium to Andy Dunn. Andy, you'd just been talking about Joey Carberry and laying down a marker. He's leaving the pitch. It looks like is he in tears leaving the pitch because he collapsed awkwardly?
Yeah, he took right on our own try line. The Italians, a couple of the heavy duty forwards off the 9 took a run. Carberry tried to get in underneath a couple of them, and it looked like the leg got caught. So it was either impact or a twist when landing. So it looks like either the left knee or the left foot, but he wasn't able to put weight through it. He has been taken off on the little mini van that comes onto the field. It does look serious. Yeah, it's hard to know immediately, but he looked pretty crestfallen coming off the field. So like we said before the game, if we get through all these 4 games without a serious injury, it would probably be the best result. It looks like we've lasted 50 minutes.
Yeah, so that is a worry and something I think that will probably dominate the next few days.
It looked bad because it looked like his left leg, which was kind of his standing leg, which you couldn't see, just basically could well have twisted into the tackle. He was tackling forwards, and for rugby fans that does look quite worrying.
Have you an official medical prognosis on it?
Well, I think I don't think Andy could see it maybe from the replay, but it didn't look like an impact. It looked like he actually twisted his leg.
No was the correct answer.
No was the answer to that. Anyone listening, don't take any don't do anything on the basis of that information.
It was his left leg anyway, not his standing leg, but he was tackling men that were probably twice his weight.
So Seamus Coleman then, lads, and this signing of Sidibe, who when Monaco were brilliant a couple of years ago, looked like potentially even a greater talent than Benjamin Mendy on the other side. He's been around the French squad since then, had a few injury problems last season, obviously isn't fit enough to even be involved in the Everton squad this afternoon. Is this just sort of, I don't say Irish negativity, but that we're looking at Seamus Coleman and think for some reason because it's a French World Cup winning defender, of course he's going to be thrown straight in there? Or is this something we should be genuinely worried about?
I think it's a fair concern to have, because I think he's probably, you look at the rivals that Coleman's had over the years, like this is the one with the best pedigree, you know, like you had Tony Hibbert for a period of time, or
John Joe Kenny last season.
Kenny Lasher, who was loaned out. So once Kenny was loaned out, they're obviously always going to bring someone in. Yeah, like Sidibe played against Ireland in the Stade de France last year. I don't know if you were at that friendly. He was sensational. You know, great attacking
Well played well in that.
Well, young Mbappe did okay. Looked like he might have had a chance, you know. But Sidibe was actually one of the standouts in that match.
Graham Burke did all right.
Graham Burke, yeah. But at the same time, like, he's had an injury run. You mentioned his great pedigree. At the same time, Monaco have let him go on loan to Everton for a year with a view to a permanent deal. He hasn't. You would have thought he might have had better offers than that if he'd been tearing it up over the last year or two. Now, I looked it up yesterday. He played 26 games last season in the league, so it's not as if he's been an injury wreck. You know, he actually finished the season pretty strongly. He was involved all the way through to the end of the year. The time he sat out last year was coming up to Christmas. So I don't know, there's two schools of thought. Some people think as Irish people we've overrated Seamus Coleman, and then there's another view that say, hang on, we've underrated him and we're too quick to write him off and just presume because it's humble Seamus Coleman from Donegal that he's going to be shoved out of the team very easily. The fact he's got the armband is significant, because Marco Silva yesterday, he spoke about he wouldn't give the answer on who the captain will be this season. He said people would know more over the next week, and I guess if Coleman wasn't necessarily his man for the long run, I don't know, would he have given him the armband today? I would have thought that would be significant enough, because I know Tom Davis and Sigurdsson and various people have had it over the last year, as well as Coleman and I think Baines.
We had Jack Byrne on as well during the week, and he just spoke about what an absolutely exemplary character he was, and as a player how you really looked up for him. The problem for Coleman is he's 31 in October, and if his pace isn't what it was, he's not the force he was at Premier League level, simple as.
Let's go and see what is going on with Seamus Coleman, because Everton are starting the season away at Crystal Palace. Watching this, Ian Beach.
Crystal Palace 0, Everton 0. Stalemate so far. Very stale, to be honest. We've only had one shot to talk of. That came from a corner a few seconds ago, taken by Everton, and Richarlison picking up just inside the penalty area, tried to sweep a shot goalwards, but it was easily dealt with by Vicente Guaita in the Palace goal. We do have Wilfried Zaha on the bench this afternoon for Palace, and when his name was read out, when the teams were announced, he was given a huge cheer. It's Crystal Palace 0, Everton 0.
Next to Vicarage Road, Watford against Brighton, Andrew Cheal.
Watford 0, Brighton 0. Watford looking slightly the better side, pressing high and pressing hard. They've had a couple of half chances. Neat footwork from Deo Lefeo brought the winger some space to shoot from 18 yards, but he was way off target with his left footer. And Deeney's right footer was on target but straight at the keeper. Ditto Brighton with a snapshot from Stevens straight at the goalie. It's Watford 0, Brighton 0.
No goals at all so far in the 3 o'clock kickoffs. Turf Moor, Burnley against Southampton. Adam Drury.
Burnley 0, Southampton 0. It was all set for a dream Saints debut for Che Adams just 2 minutes into the game when a delicious cross from Valerie was played to him just 6 yards out, but he couldn't quite hit the target. The away side have started well and looked the most likely to break the deadlock. Burnley are getting away with mistakes at the back for now, but at this early stage of the game they look uneasy and they must settle down quickly to avoid being punished. It remains goalless here at Turf Moor.
Sheffield United starting life back in the Premier League away at Bournemouth. Peter Hood.
Bournemouth 0, Sheffield United 0. The Premier League new boys have acquitted themselves well so far in the game. They could have led in the first minute. Lundstrom's through ball gave McGoldrick a chance of a one-on-one with the young keeper Aaron Ramsdale, who produced a good save to his left to keep the game level. Bournemouth have come forward in numbers on occasion, but they haven't found a way through yet. Bournemouth 0, Sheffield United 0.
Off the Ball's football coverage is in association with Paddy Power. Join the hashtag Save Our Shirt movement today. Remember to gamble sensibly. Visit dunlewy.net. Ireland leading Italy 24-10 at the Aviva Stadium, but Joey Carberry gone off with a worrying looking injury. We heard there, Damien, that Wilfried Zaha is not starting for Crystal Palace today after that deadline day saga. What did you make of it all?
It's a difficult situation for him, I think he was made promises early in the summer about, if the right offer came in, he could go. But I think when the chairman said right offer, it was going to be a Champions League team, which he already wanted, and it had to be X amount of money. Unfortunately for Wilfred, only one of those things came in with Everton, ticked one box, and that was the money. So the chairman said that he's not kind of reneging on his agreement or going back on it. He said that, and Wilfred obviously saw it another way. But what I will say is if there was one manager that I would be delighted to have in that situation, it would be Roy Hodgson, because he will be able to earn that out, no problem. He'll get Wilfred back on side and get him focused again and get him playing,
What's he like, actually, Roy Hodgson? Again, the aforementioned preview was kind of just thrown in that, he's getting on now, and without being ageist, he's too old for sort of...
The oldest manager in the Premier League.
Yeah, and it was like in the managerial sack race, Damien, it was like, obviously Solskjaer would be up there, but you'd have to say Hodgson because, he's getting on and all that, but clearly the man has an awful lot, going for him in terms of his personality and character and just how to manage a dressing room.
He's the best man manager that I've ever come across. He's absolutely, the way he deals with players, his honesty with players, the way he handles them is fantastic. And I think he'll be the same with Wilfred. He'll have had him in the office and sat down and had a chat, and just kind of reminded him that he said in his interview yesterday that his beef is with the owners, not with Roy or with the team. So I think he'll get Wilfred back on side quickly. He'd be the best man for that job for me.
Has he any real reason to have any beef with the owners if Arsenal weren't in for him, if it was just the potential of a move to Everton? Like, if you were in that dressing room and you were looking at Wilfried Zaha, the most important player at the club in terms of staying in the Premier League, and he's signing for Everton, you wouldn't be pretty happy.
Well, I think that was the owner's point of view, that there was two boxes need to be ticked. One was European football and the other was I think £70 million, and only one of those boxes were ticked. And Wilfred obviously felt that only one needed to be ticked. The owner said no, two need to be. So that's why he didn't come off. It's not very often a player hands in a transfer request and the owner flat out refuses to sell him, because normally when a player hands in a transfer request, you'd normally just sell him because you don't want an unhappy player on your hands. So he's kind of put Roy Hodgson in a very, very sticky situation with Wilfred coming back in there. He said he had to send him home from training on Thursday because he wasn't in the right frame of mind. The chairman is really asking Roy to do a very, 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 very tough job there,
How good is Wilfried Zaha?
Yeah, he's very, very good. But talent-wise, he's definitely top four. But for whatever reason, none of the top four teams or none of the big hitters in Arsenal obviously wanted him, but they didn't value him at the same as what they valued Nicolas Pepe. I know there's talks about the way that deal was structured and money up front and all that was different, but none of them have actually taken a plunge and spent the 70 million on him.
Is there an element as well, Damien, that he's playing in a team that obviously he's the star man. He's clearly a mark man because I'm pretty sure he's the most foul player in the Premier League or thereabouts. So you put him into like a top 4 team. He's kind of more of like a cog in the wheel, and is he going to realise his potential really unless he's playing in a side that befits his own quality?
I think with Wilfred, Wilfred's like a street footballer. You know, he's off the cuff. He kind of, you know, when we were playing with him and for all those years, you kind of set him loose on the pitch and just say, go on and do your thing. You know. You watched Liverpool last night, you watched Man City, all the top teams are very, very structured now. You know, all the wide players, Mahrez, Sane, Sterling, you know, when they don't have the ball, my God, they don't half track back and get into a shape and make life difficult. So, whether Wilfred's capable of doing that or not, I think for me that's the question that's hanging over him. Is he capable of doing a job for the team insofar as, you know, carrying out instructions on the pitch? Whereas with us, we kind of just say, we'll kind of keep a clean sheet and you go ahead and try and win us the game.
I'd say it was a bloody nightmare to play against in training.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Absolutely, yeah. He could embarrass you very, 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 very quickly. Especially an ageing defender.
Yeah, he'd be targeting you, I'd imagine, in every session.
Yeah, a few years ago I used to target him, you know, I used to go after him and stuff and try and, you know, put myself up against him every day, because my mindset was like, oh, if I could do well against him in training, you know, on Saturday, there's nothing that can be thrown at me. But as I was tailing off towards the end, I was going to the other side of the training pitch because, my God, he could embarrass you.
Damien, just on the Crystal Palace team, and you mentioned Roy Hodgson's qualities there, what can he do for James McCarthy? Because that's obviously another big Irish story now. He's gone to a club, and you know very well the environment he's going into. And James has had a difficult couple of years, as it's sort of been well documented. So what can Roy do for James now?
I think he's going to help James McCarthy. I think it's a great situation he's going into, because Roy is a very, very structured manager, almost plays 4-4-2 really, and his 2 central midfield players have specific roles, and he's very, very diligent in what he asks you to do. And I think it'll fit James, because he's not played regular football now for maybe 2 going on 3 years, I'd say. So I think him going into that central midfield there, he'll have a very, very specific role. And it won't be legs, because I know James is 29-ish now, I think. You know, so he won't be the box-to-box type midfield player or full of energy that he used to be. So he'll suit him going into Roy. You know, Roy will get the best out of him without a doubt.
Still no goals in any of the 4 3 o'clock kickoffs in the Premier League. Palace are up against Everton, it's Watford against Brighton, Burnley against Southampton and Bournemouth against Sheffield United. Shawnee Maguire has given Preston a 1-0 lead against Wigan in the Championship. Elsewhere, Sheffield Wednesday are 1-0 up against Barnsley. It is Hull 2, Reading 0, and Charlton are 1-0 up against Stoke. Earlier, Leeds and Nottingham Forest drew 1-1. Manchester City, if you missed it, 5-0 winners away at West Ham. A hat-trick for Raheem Sterling. Gabriel Jesus and Sergio Aguero also on target. Spurs Villa should be a good game. That one kicks off at 5:30 this evening. 53106 is the text number. The former Crystal Palace player Damien Delaney is on the line. Dan McDonnell and Johnny Ward are in studio. And just before we go to ads, a text in from Sean and Mead. Hi lads, great day for the Egan family. Not many families where the father and son played at top level at different sports. It certainly is John Egan starting at the back for Sheffield United. Damien, for you, do you remember your first Premier League appearance? Was it a particularly proud day? Something you actually took the time out to appreciate?
Yeah, definitely. I'll never forget, it was at Old Trafford, wasn't it? So I was only 19, so it was year 2000 or 2001, so it was the back end of that famous 1919. So they were all Stam and all them lads were playing, so I'll never forget that one.
But did you appreciate it more the second time round though, Damien? Almost your second Premier League debut as a more senior player.
Once you've been in the trenches of lower league football and earning promotion, and you've been to places like Lincoln and Boston and grinding out wins and stuff like that, that was always my attitude when I got back in 2013, I think it was that, like, I always felt that I deserved to be there more than anyone from the route that I took, you know. And I think Conor Horan would feel the same as well, because he dropped right down too, and you know, Conor kind of moved clubs, whereas I had to get promoted out of every division to get back to the Premier League. So I definitely had that air of, like, I deserve to be here more than anyone, and that's kind of the way I approached it, and that's why I was a little bit motivated really to prove that I could make the step up, and it'll be interesting for Conor now if he can make the step up as well.
Good to see a Cork-born centre-back playing in the Premier League again, isn't it?
It's been a while. Well, I mean, you've had Kevin Long there as well too. Sort of around the fringes, yeah.
There's a few of them hanging around in there. So no goals so far.
The two fellas down in Kerry would question that. Down in Carrasavine,
Yeah, I think that debate every time we talk about John Egan is going to come up again and again. Is he a Kerry man? Is he a Cork man?
He's a Kerry GAA fan, I think. He's sort of he managed to straddle both borders in terms of keeping both on them on
This is like the Conor Howerhan pronunciation. We need to speak to the man himself and have him on file saying whether he's a Cork man or a Kerry man, and then at least we can play it out every time someone texts in angrily.
Would you miss, Damien, the fact obviously your career went a certain way, but the just a day like today, Mayo versus Dublin, that maybe that could have been your lot as well, playing in Croke Park in front of 82,000 people or whatever?
Yeah, I would have. Yeah, I always have a soft spot for the GAA, to be honest with you. And I suppose
how good could you have been?
Say again, sorry.
What level, like, could you have? Were you as adept at that as you proved to be at football, or like was it kind of 50-50?
I won a Munster minor medal in '99. We beat Kerry down in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, and we actually lost the All Ireland semi-final to Mayo.
Great day.
Omen.
A great day.
There we are. There's an omen straight away.
So I managed to play Gaelic football and soccer at Croke Park as well, which was definitely something that I cherish, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that must have put him in a fairly select bunch.
Shane Long probably as well, I'd say.
Would he have played
hurling? I think you might have played hurling at Croke.
Would he played minor for Tippin?
I think he did, yeah.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
There's an interesting one for the listeners. How many players played soccer and Gaelic football in Croke Park?
There'd be a few surely would have played rugby and GAA, no? No?
Rob Carney, was he a Louth minor?
I think, yeah. You're trying to think of like the it's all through the minor.
If you were a Louth minor, you was hardly playing in Croke Park.
But obviously that window.
That's the point. The Louth minors probably didn't get to Croke Park too often.
The window for the football team in Croke Park would have been pretty limited. Obviously, it was just those two campaigns. That campaign. So
Thierry
Henry.
Yeah. No.
Xabi Alonso.
Yeah. Could have done a Croke Park tour.
Anyway, about that 1999 minor football semi-final where Mayo won, Damien. No, we'll leave that for now.
Damien, give Nathan some hope. He needs hope.
That was a great minor team. That was my age group.
Yeah,
if they had 18 teams, I wouldn't have made it. But which is
how did they get on at senior level then?
Well, let's not talk about that. John O'Hara was the goalkeeper, I remember.
John O'Hara.
Great goalkeeper. Might played a bit of League of Ireland.
See Michael Schligerman on the bench last week.
He was on the bench, yeah. Former Drogheda United, Sligo Rovers goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Damien, do you give Mayo any hope today?
Absolutely none.
There you go.
He's a keeper. A goal. Don't get too excited. It's between Watford and Brighton. Andrew Shield.
Watford 0, Brighton 1. An own goal by Doucouré of Watford, and really unfortunate own goal as well. Crossed hard and low from the right hand side by Montoya, and the defender Doucouré just could not get out of the way of the ball, and he just deflected it past his keeper Ben Foster, who was completely helpless. It's Watford 0, Brighton 1.
Good atmosphere at Vicarage Road, isn't there?
Did you hear what the Brighton fans were saying?
I was trying to figure it out. What was it?
Can I curse?
No.
Well, it was how bad must you be? We're winning away. So It was a bit of sort of dark
banter.
It wasn't quite bad was the word, but obviously Brighton's away record must have been pretty bad last year, was it? I mean they finished 17th, so it obviously wasn't that good.
Yeah, obviously Graham Potter in there as manager. A free-flowing style of football seems to be what Kevin Kilbane was expecting.
Live score. I'm not sure if that's sometimes those formations can be deceptive.
Well, they did bring in the centre back Webster from Bristol City, but he's not actually playing. It's Byrne who's playing alongside Duncan Duffy. So obviously they're trying to do things differently, and I know Kevin Kilbane's worry was that Duncan Duffy wouldn't be particularly suited as a 2, certainly, for playing a high defensive line and trying to play a more attractive style of football. So maybe that's the answer to that, playing 3 at the back. And Brighton are 1-0 up away at Watford, the first of the goals in the 3 o'clock kickoffs in the Premier League. We're here, Off the Balls Football, in association with Paddy Power. Join the hashtag Save Our Shirt movement today. Remember to gamble sensibly. Check out dunlewy.net. Quick break and plenty more to come from the lads.
Off the Ball on News Talk.
This August on News Talk, we're celebrating all things food. All month long, we'll be feeding you a full menu of culinary delights and inspiring you with fresh ideas as we explore the very best of Ireland's vibrant food culture. And we want you to share too. Celebrate with us on air, on social, and on newstalk.com/foodfest. Thanks to Deliveroo, delivering food freedom.
Productive afternoons with Harvey Norman. Need more you time? Ask about our range of large capacity washing machines with quick wash functions in Harvey Norman today. Now, where's the remote?
Go, Harvey, go!
Movie buffs and sports fans are about to clash because the sale that stacks up is back. Switch to Virgin Media and get superfast broadband and TV with Virgin Media Sport, and now with the choice of Sky Sports or Sky Cinema. All for an awesome €55 a month for 12 months. The sale that stacks up. Now on. See virginmedia.ie.
T's and C's apply. See virginmedia.ie. New customers only. 12-month contract. Offer ends 2nd of October 2019.
There's a smarter way to find your perfect 192 than following the crowd. Subtract all the noise that's out there. Then choose a reliable brand, like one sculpted in Germany over 120 years. Filter the list for class-leading connectivity. Now select the one with the smartest choices around, like 0% PCP or HP Finance, €3,000 scrappage or 3 years free servicing. Make the smart switch to Opel. Discover Crossland X and Insignia at our 120-year anniversary event, now on at your Opel dealership. Opel, born in Germany, made for Ireland. Lending criteria, terms and conditions apply. Deposit required. This is a hire purchase agreement provided by Bank of Ireland Finance, a registered trading name of Bank of Ireland. Offer until August 31st.
With over 15,000 coolers available to hire or buy, HSS Hire has a cooling solution for every workplace. Research shows staff are happier when their surroundings are comfortable. And with HSS Hire's range of fans, air conditioners and coolers, you can transform hot and stuffy into cool and calm. Drop into your local HSS. With branches nationwide in Dublin, Waterford, Cork, Limerick and Galway, and get up to 50% off your first hire. HSS Hire, you're better equipped.
Bruce Betting, one of Ireland's leading bookmakers. With best odds guaranteed on UK and Irish horse racing, Bruce Betting has you covered. And with the Bruce Betting app, we're always giving you more. T's and C's apply. Bruce Betting, in-store, online and now on your phone. Over 18s, please gamble responsibly. See dunlewy.net.
I was on the streets for about 2 years, 2 winters. Being hungry, cold, being absolutely miserable all the time. My life has changed since getting my own home. My health's improved. I look better. It's dramatically changed for the better. When I return home and close the door, it's just great knowing that I'm safe. I'm safe.
Until they can close their own door behind them, the most vulnerable members of our society will always be at their most vulnerable. Please help. Simon, 50 years of closing doors on homelessness.
Rule back to school at Eason with our stationery price match promise. Save €15 on Sharpie 24-pack permanent markers. Gritstick 22-gram triple pack, only $3.99. And 8mm Tipex pen, only $1.99. See in-store and online for even more great offers. Terms and conditions apply. Eason, be inspired.
It's the 16th country I've seen them in on this tour jackpot.
The Lotto jackpot is €9.5 million. Play responsibly in-app, in-store or at lottery.ie. Lotto. Time to play. Estimated jackpot.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Brighton have scored the only goal of the 3 o'clock kickoffs in the Premier League. Another own goal. We've had 3 own goals so far already. Decore this time with an own goal for Watford, which means Brighton lead 1-0 at Vicarage Road. Still scoreless between Palace and Everton, where Seamus Coleman captains Everton. Burnley 0, Southampton 0. Jeff Hendrick only among the substitutes for Burnley. Michael Obafemi on the bench for Southampton. And 4 Irish players starting for Sheffield United on their return to the Premier League. They remain scoreless away at Bournemouth. Manchester City 5-0 winners earlier today against West Ham. A hat-trick for Raheem Sterling. Spurs Villa is the late game. We'll run you down through the championship scores in a minute. Damien Delaney, the former Ireland international and Crystal Palace players on the line. Dan McDonnell and Johnny Ward are in studio. But let's go across to Croke Park because the minor semi-final is well underway. The Electric Ireland minor semi-final. Maura Trasany-Callig is watching. What's the latest?
Half-time, Cork 1-7, Mayo 7 points. Maybe it was nerves, but the opening few minutes were marred from a Cork point of view, with scoring chance after scoring chance going astray, while Mayo's Ethan Henry made no mistake, getting the first point of the day from a very long placed ball. Cork's Patrick Campbell made no mistake either, though, just before the 10-minute mark when he rounded the keeper and struck at the back of the net. Since then, we've seen Cork keep control and really take charge of the Mayo kick-out strategy. Half-time here at Croke Park, it is Cork 1-7, Mayo 7 points.
Our coverage of the minor championship brought to you by Electric Ireland. There's nothing minor about playing minor. 20 years on, it's Cork and Mayo again in the minor semi-final. Will any of these go on to have such a legendary career as Damien Delaney?
It's a good question.
It's a great question.
I mean, have we checked their pedigrees in other sports? We actually run through the list. I'm sure there's probably a couple there.
who have...
It's probably very unusual for a player to be playing at that level and
it's probably harder now to pursue an elite career. You know, you're looking at more of a late developer, I would have thought.
You know what Chris Barrett was saying?
Go on, Damien.
There was a fella that played midfield. I can't remember his name now.
James Gill.
Yeah, from Mayo.
Yeah,
he played rugby. Yeah, someone told me that not too long ago.
No, Gavin Duffy played midfield for Mayo that day as well, alongside James Gill. Was a very good soccer player from Westport.
Gill went to the Ag College in Mount Bellew, just down the road from me. Lovely guy by all accounts. Yeah.
No, what did he do?
He went on to play. He was a brilliant soccer player, because I remember playing Westport United as a young lad. Much like with Alan Cawley, had to do a man marking job. Sacrificed myself for the team yet again. The game plan my father implemented was one where I never touched the ball and just ran around chasing their best player for 17 minutes.
For 17 minutes. You were only on the team because he was your dad.
Well, essentially, it's not how these things go.
He has a good eye for a player, your dad.
Which is why I was on a man marking.
That's why he didn't let him touch the ball.
That's why he didn't let me touch the ball. We'll come back to that. But the other player in midfield was Gavin Duffy, who obviously had a great career with Connacht and went on to play with Ireland as well. So you all went places, didn't you? Were you playing midfield for Cork?
I played midfield that day, and he ended up marking him for the day actually. So I found out later he did go on to play international rugby, I think, for Ireland.
So who knows what will come of these Mayo and Cork minors today. Let's go to Andy Dunn. Ireland 29, Italy 10. 8 minutes to go, Andy. What's happening?
Yeah, we got a fifth try through Kevin Marmion. A typical Marmion effort. Hustled the out half kicker Ian McKinley and blocked it down, in fact, and ended up just dotting down in the dead ball area. Our scorers today being Carberry, Carney, Conway, Geordie Murphy with the fourth try, and then Marmion with the fifth. Big news so far is the injury to Joey Carberry. We're trying to get word, is it knee or left knee or left ankle? So there's no reports as of yet, but it did look relatively serious.
Johnny Ward saw it, and he's a qualified medical professional, I'm sure, to be giving...
Enough of the taking the piss. I was just saying I had a better view of the replay than Andy had. But to answer your question, it would have been his knee, not his ankle.
Okay, thanks, Johnny, for that. Well, I think it certainly doesn't look like there was any break or anything like that. They didn't stabilise his leg or any of these things, so it's probably ligaments, and again, let's hope it's a very mild one. He didn't look too happy with life when he was going off the field. He couldn't help feeling sorry for him, and often the player's initial reaction is probably one that gives things away most. I'd be hopeful it's just a minor thing, but I'm kind of I don't believe that's the case, unfortunately. So it's bad news for Ireland on that first warm-up game.
All right, well, as soon as we hear anything, and we will have the post-match press conference and analysis from Joe Schmidt after the game, we'll bring you that. So, Damien, looking at the potential in the top six, and we did 17 hours on the transfer window, and there was a lot of angry Manchester United supporters throughout the afternoon, and the question was, have they improved over this transfer window? They finished 30 points behind the top two. They spent a world record fee on a defender to bring in Harry Maguire, added Aaron Wan-Bissaka for 50 million, and Daniel James has come in as a promising player for Swansea. But they lost Romelu Lukaku and didn't replace him, lost Ander Herrera and didn't buy a centre midfielder in a midfield that looked pretty weak last season. Do you think United are in a better position now than they were at the end of last season?
Yeah, I do. I think they're better off without Romelu Lukaku, because now you might have to play Martial as a number 9, or you might have to play Rashford as a number 9. So I think that kind of earns that out, because one of them's always playing on the left wing, and I don't think either of them are left wingers. They're number 9s who threaten and running behind. So I think they're better off without Lukaku. I think they're better off defensively with the two players they brought in, but they're still not going to make up a huge amount. I mean, they might finish 25 points behind Manchester City. That's the level of improvement.
To be optimistic, that's only 8 defeats.
Lukaku's has been an interesting player, because he broke all sorts of records for his goal scoring feats in the Premier League as such a young player, and always seemed destined for one of the elite clubs when he was with Everton and when he'd been on loan at West Brom. And then he went to United, started really quickly, but was a bit of a flat track bully. He seemed to target teams in the bottom half of the table where he'd rack up goals for fun, but never delivered, it felt like, in the best games. From your experiences of marking him and of going up against him, why do you think he did struggle at times against the better teams?
Because Manchester United will always pin teams in. They'll always have the majority possession, and he needs green grass to run into. So when teams are kind of on the edge of their own box, he's not clever enough with his movement. He's a brute, he's a bully, he's a big strong guy. His touch isn't fantastic, his link-up play isn't great. But I tell you, if he plays in an Everton and there's green grass and you're left in a foot race with him, which I have been at times, he can run and he can punish you and he can grind you into the ground. But at Man United, they need more than that. They need number 9s that can link it, that can play people in, can occupy 2 centre halves. And unfortunately, he's just not that type of player. I straight away when he went there, I knew it was a strange one. I thought that's going to be interesting how that pans out. So I think they're better off without him, if I'm being honest with you.
The goal that Salah got last night, his first goal, where things just happen out of nothing, and it's a bit of a ping pong, and that 1-2 quickly. Lukaku's never been able to do that. He just doesn't have. He's too cumbersome to do the quick kind of touch movement that's increasingly needed in as Damien says, for a particular club he would be absolutely perfect. And I thought he'd suit Mourinho because of that sort of style, but a bit like Matic, I think the game just kind of has passed him by in terms of he just didn't have the technique to go with the good teams.
He's obviously a lot younger than Nemanja Matic, and a concern there would be that Nematic's legs are gone at this stage for the role that Manchester United want him to do. The other thing with Lukaku, which was strange for such a, as you say, cumbersome but such a big, strong man, is that he never seemed to relish a physical battle.
Yeah, that's a fair point, to be honest with you. Whenever I played against him, he needs contact. He needs to pin defenders, he needs to back in, he needs to feel the centre back, and he kind of thrives on that a little bit. But he's not a Man United level player. He never should have went there. But Man United have had problems for 5 or 6 windows now where they've just signed random players. They've just kind of just brought people in because they were available, and you find that once you get 2 or 3 windows wrong, you're playing catch up, and now you really are hoping that Harry Maguire is the player that he's supposed to be. I think Pogba gets a lot of criticism unfairly. I think he is a world-class player.
He's a fraud though, Damien. He's an absolute fraud. He just turns up when he wants to. He's not he down tools last season. He's bigger than the club. He should have been gone, surely.
I disagree there. He was voted in the PFA Team of the Year. I mean, and that's ultimately the people who play against him every week are the ones that pick that. Regardless of whether you watch it on a Sunday or you listen to Gary Neville or whatever you see yourself, because Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher shape a lot of opinions there, the players that play against them found them a handful. So when you're picking a PFA Team of the Year, you sit down and you think, what central midfield player gave me the biggest problems? What centre forward gave me? What left back? Who did I play well against? And if you played well against enough teams, then your name is in it. So I'm sorry there, but he was in the PFA Team of the Year, and you can't cheat that. There's no way to
Are you not giving your fellow professionals a bit too much credit? Because you said you get the form in, you sit down and you think. Do you think everybody who's voting in the PFA Team of the Year is actually doing that, or are they just throwing down 11 names?
No chance. You think about let's say we played Man United twice, and I'm thinking central midfield players. What central midfield players really impressed me this year? What central midfield players did well against us? Not what did Gary Neville say, or not what did the paper say in the morning. Which centre forward gave me the biggest problem, and I'd stick that name down. And that's what the fellow professionals do. So they obviously thought he did. Now, people can give him criticism if you want, but I think he's a world-class player, and I think he's absolutely fantastic. But when he's playing in the midfield with Scott McTominay and God knows who the other one else, whoever else he was throwing in with, it's difficult, and he's not a...
Some people who probably don't know that it's Damien talking, maybe thinking that Cork accent, talking about Man United, thinking of Roy Keane. Roy Keane would never do what Pogba's done, which is basically turn up when he wants to, had a row with Mourinho, and then decided that just for a lot of games. I remember watching him a few games. Was it the Brighton game? He was absolutely disgraceful. He could barely look like one of the worst players you've ever seen. Talent-wise, he's right up there with the best players in the world, but mentally he's just not there, and he probably never will be. And once things get crap, you're right, I think, Damien, when he's surrounded by players that are his inferior, he sort of plays accordingly and he starts throwing his toys out the pram. But as an actual character, he's clearly shown himself to be a fraud more than once.
Damien, would you prefer to have Roy Keane or Paul Pogba in your team?
I'd like to have Pogba, to be honest with you.
Jesus. Oh my God.
That's probably one of the personal reasons.
I was waiting to get to that.
Don't interrupt us. Let him elaborate here, lads.
Why? You take a couple of minutes to explain why there, Damien.
From a professional point of view, I'd say that I'd put up Pogba because Roy would kind of do the dirty stuff and kind of pick up the loose balls that Pogba won't, and would track back when Pogba won't. But Pogba's a match winner, and I would happily shovel, or I'll happily run around and do bits and pieces and do his running for him. It was the same when people like Zaha's in your team. If you want me to run further and faster, I'll do that, no problem. And I'm a hod carrier, and I will do that as best I possibly can because you're a match winner. And people like that win your matches. So Pogba's a match winner, and I think you need to surround him with players that will do the things that he doesn't want to do. Now, you can crucify him for saying, oh, well, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. He was never bought to do that. He's an attacking midfield player. At Juventus, it was the same thing. He likes playing the attacking one of three. But get two good players around him and let him do his thing, and you will see the benefits of him there. That's how I'd look at it, you know what I mean?
There you have it, Johnny.
The thing is that the Manchester United haven't always sought to deploy him as that attacking midfielder, though. That's been part of the problem at times, that actually he's been asked to be one of the, like his positioning within the team has been to be one of the workers, you know, and that's been the problem for him, I think, on occasion.
Well, John Giles would often bring up that Mourinho made the comment that Pogba's the complete midfield player, whereas he's not. Like that's not his role. But the problem for Manchester United is that do they have, and Giles would often bring this up, do they have a Pirlo like he had at Juventus to do the work and give him the ball in the right place at the right time?
Absolutely not.
They've nobody near that.
Say if they had like Herrera and Matic, we'll say, or whoever it was behind Pogba, he's probably going to have to start drawing back because he's just surrounded by players that aren't up to his level. I'd agree with Damien on that. Like you saw with the French team, how he could fit in. Like as a number, you just off the striker, as good as you'll see. But I still think his attitude should be an awful lot.
I don't think he's a fraud though. He's frustrating. Like he's won a World Cup. You know, he's won a World Cup.
Straight after Mourinho was sacked, he did a thing on Instagram with this kind of "I told you so" thing. That's absolute nonsense.
No, but you're
he's
going to
the type of lad that's on Instagram in the dressing room.
But you're going to get annoyed by a lot of footballers in the next 10, 15, 20 years.
Absolutely.
Like we have managers on Instagram now, you know, coaches, people like that. Like
you're on Instagram, Johnny.
Our perception of people and what we want footballers to represent is probably going to have to be configured. You know, like we always have this old school image, you know, and it's not
about the whole Instagram thing. I would bet good money, and from what I've seen on the inside, that is not Paul Pogba's Instagram. His agent the company will have a whole host of promotions and what they call your profile people running that. I'd be highly doubtful if Paul Pogba actually posted that. You'll probably find that Paul Pogba will have his own private Instagram with about 10 friends that he has a bit of crack with on and stuff like that. Agents will run those things, and I know that for a fact. I know a lot of top players never even seen their own Instagram, and that's a fact of life. I'm sorry, and if that thing went up, I don't think Paul Pogba put that up. There'll be a woman in an office or a man in an office will have just thrown that up and not known the difference between Mourinho's been sacked and not been sacked, and probably put him in a very, very, very difficult spot.
It's a hell of a poll though. Who would you prefer in your team, Paul Pogba or Roy Keane?
Get it up there, get it online.
A man who will always give you...
Do your best. Who would you want in your team? Roy Keane or Paul Pogba?
A man who'll always give you...
Would you rather sit next on a plane?
Neither, to be quite honest.
You see them coming down the aisle and you're like, there's only one spot free, you know.
They're going to be a nightmare for different reasons. Absolute different reasons.
I don't know.
I've seen Paul Pogba on his Instagram do very nice things where he's been on trains and people have gone up to him and he's got their photo and their camera wasn't working, so he took a photo and his camera took their number and like text them the photo on the next day. Like, just very nice guy. Nice things.
This might sound outlandish, but it's something that I've spoken to a few people about. Roy Keane, Cork City manager at some stage in the future. Discuss.
I could never see that happening. Jesus, no way.
Why not?
You've
left the club.
I know. I just couldn't. I can't see Roy being managing another team again. To be honest, I can't see it happening.
I think his currency is low. I can't see what good job he'll get in England.
Well, he may not get a good job, but surely there's still plenty of championship chairmen who look at the name of Roy Keane, who still kept himself very involved in the game and is still a very young man. Surely it's far too early to be writing off his managerial career.
Look, he's had a go of being an assistant manager at Villa, assistant manager at Forest, and he's left everywhere early. I don't see it, to be honest. I can't see anyone giving him a manager's job again. I think he's just should become get a gig with Sky, man, and just be a pundit because he's entertaining and he's good crack, and I think he's funny to listen to.
Do you think,
I mean, do you think that Damien, that might be an element of word of mouth, that like, you know, there's certain stories go around about Roy's management style, and we always talk about his reputation, and I think that's what Nathan's alluding to, that, you know, chairman will be blinded by that sort of celebrity. But do you think maybe that there's enough stories going around now that might be the problem?
But the thing is, the chairman won't listen to stories. They won't get hard facts. You know, they'll phone people that have employed him before, they'll phone people that have worked with him before, and that'll generally shape the opinion of Roy as a manager. And I think my own personal opinion, the game's changed a little bit. Roy's style of management is what it is. And I think the game's changed. The kids today wouldn't be able to take him. I mean, I've been on the receiving end of him, and it's ferocious. I think that the young players from today that are coming out of academies, that have been mollycoddled since they were 12 years of age and told they're the best thing ever, I mean, they'd never come back from that. One Roy Keane getting dug out by Roy once. They just wouldn't come back from it.
Let's go to the Aviva Stadium because the full-time whistle's gone between Ireland and Italy. Convincing win for Ireland, Andy, but the big story is the concerns of the injury to Joey Carberry.
Yeah, a 29-10 win. Joey going off injured midway through the second half, looking quite upset. It seems like it might be an ankle or a left knee, but basically half the Italian forward pack came down heavily on him as he was trying to make a try-saving tackle. So they were in very, very close quarters. He came off on the motorised stretcher and looked pretty upset. So it will probably, very unfortunately, be the lead story on the back of a game that was at times probably predictably rusty in patches, but there were some nice periods of play punctuated within that as well.
All right, we will have more analysis on that this evening. Andy Dunn's going to be talking to Will about that, and we'll put it up on offtheball.com. We'll bring you the latest on Joey Carberry as well as soon as we get it. Thanks for that, Andy. Let's get the half-times very quickly in the Premier League. Watford against Brighton. Andrew Cheal.
Watford 0, Brighton 1, an own goal by Doucouré. The difference between the sides, unable to get out of the way of a hard low cross from Pascal Gross, cannoned off him into the net. That apart, it's been half chances only for Watford. Holybas with a free kick palmed over, Deeney with a shot straight at the keeper. For Brighton, Stevens shooting straight at the keeper, Proper shooting too high. In attack, Brighton have looked the more dangerous. Watford's service to strikers has been disappointing. Watford 0, Brighton 1.
To Bournemouth against Sheffield United. Peter Hood.
Bournemouth 0, Sheffield United 0. A very solid start by the Premier League new boys. They've been on top in this game against the lacklustre Bournemouth side. They could have led in the first minute when Ludstrom played the ball through to David McGoldrick. He was only denied by a good save by the young Bournemouth keeper Ramsdale. Bournemouth have shown signs that they can get forward, but their final ball has been poor. Sheffield United have worked a couple of efforts. Callum Robinson's really looked dangerous in and around the box, but at half-time it's Bournemouth 0, Sheffield United 0.
At Palace Everton, it's Ian Beach.
Crystal Palace 0, Everton 0, but no doubt that Everton have been the better team so far, although Andre Gomes has hobbled off injured and been replaced by new signing Jean-Philippe Gbamin just before the break. Everton's best chances, a Lucas Digne's shot that hit a defender and a couple of headers wide by Dominic Calvert-Lewin. It remains to be seen whether Roy Hodgson will dare to bring on Wilfried Zaha. This is the kind of game that you think he could make a real difference in. Crystal Palace 0, Everton 0.
And Burnley Southampton, Adam Drury.
No goals at Turf Moor, although plenty of drama as VAR has certainly been the centre of attention in an eventful 45 minutes. Chris Wood has had a goal ruled out and a reviewed offside, and Saints forward Che Adams, who missed a big chance early on, escaped a red card on his debut after replays showed no serious infraction during a foul. Burnley have largely frustrated the Saints, but only a sensational stop from Nick Pope on the stroke of stoppage time was able to deny a moment of magic from Nathan Redmond. It's Burnley 0, Southampton 0 at Turf Moor.
So those are the half times in the Premier League. We'll run you down through the Championship and plenty more to talk about as well right after these.
Join the conversation on Facebook and Twitter.
At Expert Electrical Stores, our new back-to-school catalogue is extra clever. It's bursting with brilliant deals on Apple, Samsung, Lenovo, Asus and more. Tablets, iPads, laptops, MacBooks, phones and accessories. With savings of up to 40%, shop smarter for back to school at your local Expert Electrical Store or visit expert.ie today.
At Eason, it's time to teach back to school a lesson. Time to show that book list who's boss. Time to perfect those list-ticking, stationery sorting, curriculum-crushing skills like the back to school champion you are. Time to enjoy great savings with Eason as the one-stop shop in your corner. With our stationery price match promise and hundreds of offers online and in over 50 stores nationwide, you're guaranteed to have all your back-to-school savings in the bag. And we'll even assemble your book list for you. This year, rule back to school at Eason. Eason. Be inspired.
Let's face it, the Irish summer has serious commitment issues. It's always late, disappears for weeks at a time, and consistently breaks its promises. But not us. At Electric Ireland, we're committed to giving you an 8.5% saving on your gas and electricity year after year after year after year. Visit electricireland.ie/join for the kind of commitment you deserve.
Estimated annual bill €1,736. Average consumption, urban 24-hour, discounted unit rate, standing charge, PSO levy and carbon tax. Residential, dual fuel, direct debit and online billing. Terms and conditions apply. See electricireland.ie/EAB. Rates at 1st of April 2019, subject to change.
Water, if we all stop to think about it, is the most essential, life-giving resource we have. We use it in our homes, businesses, hospitals and farms, and share it with every animal and plant on Earth. Yet many of us never give it a second thought. Water is precious. Let's use only what we need. To find out how, visit water.ie. Irish Water. Safeguarding our water for our future.
Last month, the Henry Ilias saved €368 at Lidl. The shop last week included salmon darns, 2 for €3.75. We're not codding you. Nailed it. 10 weeks in, the Henry Ilias total reaches €770. Start your big save at Lidl.ie. Lidl, more for you. The Henry Ilias shop between the 26th of June and the 17th of July and received a gratuity for participation.
Now at M&S, there's amazing offers in our home event with 20% off homeware and up to 40% off selected furniture. Only at M&S. In-store and online, terms and conditions apply.
In a world where they said it couldn't be done, the impossible has been achieved. They've taken the perfect chicken breast sandwich and made it even perfecter. More perfect. Really, really better. How did they do this?
Could I have bacon and cheese on that, please?
That's right. A little extra sizzle is now in store. Supermac's new chicken breast sandwich. The best just got better with bacon and cheddar.
How could a KBC personal loan make a difference to you? Make a difference to your... Make a difference to your... Make a difference to your... Or make a difference to your... Apply for a personal loan with KBC to find out how we can make a difference to you and your pocket. KBC, the bank of you. Lending criteria, underwriting, terms and conditions apply. KBC Bank Ireland plc is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Bruce Betting, one of Ireland's leading bookmakers. With best odds guaranteed on UK and Irish horse racing, Bruce Betting has you covered. And with the Bruce Betting app, we're always giving you more. T's and C's apply. Bruce Betting, in-store, online and now on your phone. Over 18s, please gamble responsibly. See dunlewy.net.
Across Ireland on 106 to 108 FM and at newstalk.com. This is Newstalk.
Good afternoon from the newsroom. I'm Fiona Ash. US media is reporting the disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein, who was facing charges of sex trafficking, has taken his own life. The 66-year-old was in jail, awaiting trial, accused of abusing dozens of underage girls. Sky correspondent Enda Brady says he was a man who knew the rich and famous.
He stood accused of running a vast network of underage girls for sex, and he was someone who was immensely wealthy and had collected a very high-profile number of friends, people like Donald Trump, former President Bill Clinton.
There's still been no breakthrough in the search in Malaysia for missing Irish teenager Nora Quarren. The 15-year-old was on holiday with her family when she vanished from a resort near Kuala Lumpur last Sunday. Earlier, a video of her mother thanking the search teams was shown on local media. Journalist Beatrice Nita J has been speaking to people in the area who say no one has ever gone missing for this length of time.
This really thick jungle. What the locals say is that because this is the first time someone has gone missing, but there is a mountain here where people usually go for jungle trekking and mountain climbing. Yes, there are cases where people have lost their way before. The maximum day that they have taken to come out is like 1 or 2 days. So even the locals are quite surprised with the case, and they are also helping the authorities.
At least 18 people have been killed and dozens are missing after a typhoon hit the coast of eastern China. Chinese state TV claims more than 1 million people have been forced to leave their homes. More than 200 houses have collapsed, thousands more are damaged, and Shanghai Disneyland has been closed. Don't forget, for the latest news updates, go to our website, that's newstalk.com.
Newstalk weather.
Thanks to the AA. You'll find our lowest car insurance quotes online, guaranteed.
Showers will merge to longer spells of rain in places, some heavy and prolonged with the risk of spot flooding. Thunderstorms are also likely. Highest temperatures 16 to 19 degrees. And now you're up to date on Newstalk.
off the ball. This is News Talk.
Welcome back. It's the opening weekend of the Premier League season and we're less than an hour away from Mayo against Dublin in the All-Ireland football semi-final.
Come on, Mayo!
Johnny, this is an unbiased radio station. I need people not from Mayo. We need people not from Mayo to be totally unbiased so that the rest of us can be totally biased.
It's like a political show now. You have to bring in some rabid, like, Dublin fan of some description just for the sake of balance.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of balance.
Can you be that person?
No.
You've already written off Mayo's chance.
Yeah, but I mean, I still want Mayo to win.
You were saying
obviously to get David Quinn on, as he's from Dublin, just to provide some balance to the situation.
That's exactly what you need, yeah.
There are a few Dublin fans who secretly kind of want Mayo to win because they're getting their Dublin fans are getting really bored of it. And obviously they want 5 in a row, but they're finding the whole thing really boring.
They're a bit bored.
There are a load of them are really bored. Like I know, absolutely bored of it.
That makes them even worse.
Yeah. But there's always
you'd get bored.
But there's always a section of every group. Like, every Irish sporting team club has a section of fans that love a bit of misery as well, and they love nothing more than a post-mortem after a defeat as well. Like, I told you it wasn't going to be this easy. In fact, there'll be a load of Dublin fans hitting out at people saying it was too easy for them. They'll be like, "We told you so. We told you our dominance isn't bad for the game. We lost."
Nobody has mentioned
their joy.
Nobody has mentioned, Nathan, that Dublin have not really had a serious game of football in the guts of a year. Like Mayo have come through.
Lots of people have mentioned it.
So many, but have they?
Yes.
People don't think it's an issue.
They're undercooked.
I think Mayo coming through the Dublin took the motorway. Mayo took the hard roads. They've played like 5 or 6 hard games, 6-day turnaround, no issue at all. And they're from Mayo. They're going to lose by a point. It'll be a close game. Huh?
They could have got a puncture by coming through those bad
kind of skewed.
Well, we were just saying that earlier. There was a big tailback heading into Edwardstown, and I was asking the question: why were people in Edwardstown? There's a bloody motorway.
I was using it as an analogy. I didn't actually mean the M3.
Well, we had this conversation earlier. The M4, Johnny. You should know this.
How excited would you be? Right. How mad will you go if they win?
Not mad at all. It's just another step in the process of
losing the final.
Exactly. That'd be the great fear, obviously, that you beat
That's obviously
Dublin
what would happen.
and then lose the final.
That's 100%.
But let's not get carried away. Let's focus on the challenge in front of us. Anyways, Ross Munley is there. Ross Munley is there and is going to talk to us at 4:30 about what has been happening and what is going to happen in that game. Damien Delaney is on the line. 4 games in the Premier League underway at 3 o'clock. Only 1 goal, though, an own goal. And Brighton lead Watford 1-0. Scoreless between Palace and Everton, between Burnley and Southampton, and between Bournemouth and Sheffield United. And Manchester City were 5-0 winners earlier today in their opening game against West Ham. Just to let you know that our football coverage and Off the Ball is in association with Paddy Power. Join the hashtag Save Our Shirt movement today. Remember to gamble sensibly. Check out dunlewy.net. Ireland 29-10 winners over Italy in the rugby in the warm-up game, but Joey Carberry picked up what looked like a potential serious injury there. Lots of texts coming in on 53106. We're live on all our social channels as well. Download the Go Loud app if you're out in the move and you want to listen in. Pogba got in the PFA team of the season because the vote was done right at the end of United's purple patch in Ole's early tenure. He was anonymous for 3/4 of the season, says Pat in Newbridge.
Yeah, that's probably fair. 3/4 of the season.
Have they not, Damien, have they not moved the voting a little bit later? Because that was always a criticism that it used to be the end of February.
Yeah, I think it was March was when it was done. If they haven't moved it later, I mean, you know, the vote was done in March. The season, you know, he's had a good season, and I don't agree with that, to be honest with you.
The worst thing you can say to any Kerryman is, "I heard you were a great miner."
Yeah, well, that's an implication that your life. I mean, there's that kind of scene of the 2 old lads watching the game, and like it's the second half, and they bring on this slightly dishevelled lad who's not actually that old in the second half, and one old lad mutters to the other, "Yeah, he was a great miner." Obviously, things have gone wrong since.
Lads just wandering around Athens, but still listening in, and walked into a vintage shop and got a 1980s Barca jersey with Maradona on the back for $250. What a find!
Is that actually legit?
Doesn't matter.
It's a very weird text to make up, to be
$250.
How does he know?
He's walking around Athens going, "Do you know what I should do? Impress the lads back in Dublin. Get it out there that I got the jersey for $250.
Did he have a name?
He did not put his name to it. If you're still wandering around Athens and still listening in, do get in touch.
The movie, by the way.
Half time in the TG Cahir All-Ireland Ladies Football Quarter Final. Galway 1-9, Waterford 1-4. Could be a Galway Mayo All-Ireland semi-final.
Yeah. We could do with a bit of cheer. Although our Galway United football team obviously taking on Collinstown and Whitehall tomorrow, so our road to...
That's 3 mentions for this.
The first cup victory for Galway United since 1991 is well and truly on the way.
All right, we'll let you go off on your little tangent then. We were at Dalymount last night. Bowes 3, Shells 2.
It's not a tangent, because as Dan and I frequently remind you, this show may be about the Premier League, but we're going to pigeonhole League of Ireland into it week in, week out, even in the off-season.
No, we should talk about it, because let's be honest, Johnny, football is back.
Football is back in front of the
Dan was texting me angrily during the week about the comment, football is back. I didn't make that comment. Did I make that comment?
No, you did, yeah.
Did I?
You did actually say it, yeah.
I said football is back.
Yeah, you did.
When?
Yeah. You said it was in the promo the other day. You did. You said it. It's fine.
In a promo?
Yeah, definitely. It was in that thing that was going round to promote the OTB 17.
Oh, I didn't write that.
Yeah, but you were
somebody else.
You said
and
those words.
Sorry, when I was recording that, I made this very point.
You said those words.
And I was told, just read the bloody thing. You
said those words.
I should have stood my ground, but...
No, you said the words. It's fine.
That's pretty thin, that, man. I'm not sure about that.
What?
That you just read it.
doesn't wash with
It's not
game.
a plausible excuse. It's not a plausible excuse, to be fair.
I'm on the League of Ireland bandwagon, lad. So
You'll fit right in here, so.
Last night kind of made me a little bit annoyed that we've aped England in terms of the FAI Cup not becoming as important, or certainly in the early rounds. Like, so you get to the Aviva Stadium now, which is a great prize for all the fans and all the players. But in the early rounds, like when Dan and I would have been following the league when we were much younger, sort of in the late 90s or that, the Cup had a magic from the first game, and there were like replays. Like I remember Galway at Lone, 4,000 or 5,000 at it replay. I was thinking that watching the game last night, it goes to 2-2, and it's like, this game is finished tonight, there will be no replay. And it was like, this replay in Talca Park of Bowes and Shells were to happen next Tuesday would actually be a bumper event. Now, I'm not saying Cabinteely and Cork City would have been a bumper event in Turner's Cross, but for whatever reason last night, Shells were back in the big time and brought a big attendance. Bowes decided that they were basically playing their best team or thereabouts. The place was absolutely buzzing. The first half was also like the old days in that it was frantic, very little football played, just like Shells sitting back, and it was a lot of hoofball, not a great game to watch, as our Dutch mate said in his monologue or whatever. Second half was the best half of football in the FAI Cup I've ever seen. It had absolutely everything. Yeah. Everything. It was unbelievable. Watch the highlights. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
It was like
I was at Robert's Finn Harps enviously watching the updates come through.
So
in terms of quality or in terms of excitement?
Yeah, in terms of both. So the
storyline.
The first goal was Kieran Kilduff, and obviously Ian Morris, who's a lot of ex-Bowes lads at Shells, including Ian Morris, he basically masterminded that. They'd hit them on the break. The first goal they scored was Kieran Kilduff beating them on the break. Bowes did this loads of pressing. Dean Delaney, who's like the guts of 40 now, is he the goalkeeper?
Not quite 40, but he'll be getting there, I think. Maybe he's not miles off.
Also ex-Bowes, made these amazing saves. Shells break down the pitch to Shane Farrell. The ball comes to him on the right, just outside the box. We were right behind it. He arrows this ball into the top corner, like as good a goal as you'll see. These Bowes fans beside me start leaving the ground. There's like 6-7 minutes left. Jays Cabia, whose father, Jason Cabia, I remember playing for Galway United. It's always this worrying thing when you remember his
for Cork City. Damien might have been there when Damien was sort of on the scene.
That's mad. Jays Cabia, he looks like he's going to be a really good player, but I think what happened was he had his shin guards off or something like that, but he was in the other half of the pitch, and the ref's like, Rob Harvey's like, you're already booked, you're wasting time.
He got done for time wasting.
But I'm not.
They both scored 3 goals to win the game in the last 6 minutes.
Then you're thinking, God, okay, they're down to 10 men, they might have a chance here. Keith Buckley, who was outstanding, scored straight away. Mandrew, who should definitely have been sent off earlier, gets a second goal with a deflection, and Delaney's like crestfallen on the ground, and then Mandrew basically top corner in the last minute. It was just astonishing. It had absolutely
football's
everything.
back, baby. Football's back.
Cherish the FAI Cup. It's a brilliant competition. Put out your best team, and you have a strong chance of getting far in the competition and getting a place in Europe, which means a lot, or a place in the Aviva Stadium. And don't just ape the FA Cup, which has become a complete irrelevance.
Damien, obviously you returned to the League of Ireland for the last season and a half or so before you decided to hang up your boots last month. Quality-wise, where was it from what you expected when you moved back?
Yeah, I mean, the quality is what it is, you know. I mean, it's...
What is it?
There's some... I don't know, let me just get this out to be diplomatic about it.
Don't be diplomatic at all.
Listen, I'm a big fan of League of Ireland. I think it's fantastic. It just needs a little bit of love and a little bit of care and a little bit of attention. And it will get an awful lot better. The enthusiasm is there for it. The desire from the players and the people involved in it, and the fans that go week in and week out is there for it. I just think it just needs a little bit of a spruce up, and it'll be fantastic.
What's
but quality-wise, I think it could be better.
Is it mixed from week to week? I mean, you see the distance, the distance between the top teams and even the middle tier teams, never mind the bottom teams. I mean, from your perspective, you were at Waterford this year. How different is playing at Dundalk to playing a UCD Finn Harps, sort of in terms of the levels?
Massively, hugely different. But I think budget is playing like anything, I suppose, in the Premier League. Dundalk's budget versus Waterford's budget is massive, and they get the best players in the country, and they kind of hoover up all the top players. The players are doing well. But look, Dundalk are a fantastic side. I think Rovers are a very, very good side. Two very, very well coached teams, and I think I'll put Bows in that as well. You can see that they're three very well coached teams. I think Keith Long, Bradley and Vinnie Pert, obviously very, very good football men, and I could tell straight away when you play those teams that they are very well coached sides, and obviously they have good players as well.
We spoke about Roy Keane. Have you any aspirations towards managing in the League of Ireland, or where are you badges wise?
I have no badges. I never did anything, to be honest with you, but I'm going to start doing them now over the course of next year, and getting into coaching in the League of Ireland is probably something that I would like to do, to be honest with you. It's something that I might look to do in the future.
The media is where it's at, Damien. Like, this is as good as it gets on a Saturday afternoon. What else would you want to be doing?
I'm starting to buy into this, lads. Yeah,
debut. He's spoken for an hour and a half, like resting on his on his hand. He's so relaxed about the whole thing.
I know, I like it.
The body language is very encouraging.
I switched off for a second there because my wife just sent me a very disturbing message. This is one of my children right now.
Oh my God.
He's in a Dublin church, just for people who can't
see. He's in a Dublin jersey.
Yeah. Well, he wants to experience a bit of winning feeling,
It's outrageous. He's been threatening this all week, and I kind of laughed at him and told, well, you're never going to get to go to a game.
Did you post up a picture of him in a Liverpool shirt last night?
Well, he's just out to annoy me. So he's been supporting Manchester United. He wants me to buy him all these jerseys.
How did you get him to support Liverpool?
His best mate, I think, supports Liverpool.
No, but how did you get him? What sort of carrot did you use to get him to support Liverpool?
I haven't done anything. He just decided, and now he's obsessed with it. He was literally jumping around angrily. Yeah, Shamrock Rovers. Shamrock Rovers. If he'd been a Shamrock Rovers, Manchester United and Dublin supporter, this is not what I'd envisaged growing up.
How can you complain about, if you've got him onto this Liverpool bandwagon, that he's just got onto the Dubs one? I mean, he's basically, what do you expect him to do? Take a completely different approach from one code to the next?
But
Liverpool and Dublin are very intertwined. There's a lot of similarities between them, yeah.
Are there?
Yeah.
Liverpool hardly ever win anything. Dublin are winning everything.
Yeah, but I don't know. Just Liverpool, Dublin fans. I don't know. It's very hard to.
Go on, Dad. Tell us what you really think.
Very hard to start.
What are you saying about Dublin supporters?
I don't know. Actually, I need to think this theory through in more detail.
No.
But I'm suggesting it wouldn't.
Thinking it through is not what we do on a Saturday afternoon.
It wouldn't surprise me.
I want you to just throw it out there and just have your life ruined for the next 6 months.
No. He's following success.
That's my point. You have to have pain in your life, suffering.
Yeah, but
that's what I had to go through.
No, but when did you start Liverpool? The 80s. Yeah, that was a tough
I don't remember Liverpool ever. I don't remember Liverpool ever winning the league.
Fans in Ireland, they trace their roots back to the 80s when they were the top dogs.
But I don't ever remember Liverpool winning the league.
Like the Dubs now, following success.
I am interested in Damien, just what was life like under John Caulfield, because he's looking for a job as well now, or moving on. He's done a bit of media work as well. But
listen, we're hoping to keep Damien here all season. Don't use all the good stuff back in the day.
It's interesting because it was a difficult time for Cork, because Caulfield's era was so successful, and obviously the last season wasn't as successful. But what was it like, and what was the dressing room like? Because he had a lot of talented players there.
He did. John's sets a high bar as well, and drives the players, training and stuff like that. He's a good manager, John, and he's a motivated guy. He's an intense guy, and for whatever reason, it just kind of petered out that last year that I was there, the last 6 months. Sorry, because when I came in, we were going for the league and the FA Cup, and we ended up getting neither. So, and obviously didn't start the season very well, and went this year. So. Maybe John was looking for younger, fresher players, needed to freshen it up, and only the money was there really for him to do it. So it kind of possibly where he fell down. You
just mentioned about the bit of love that the league needs, Damien, and I don't know how you found it this season. I know you were sort of commuting a bit to play for Waterford, but that schedule of games in the sort of first 3-4 months of the season, I would have the view it impacts on quality big time over a period of time. I mean, is that something you found difficult, that sort of run of games, just game after game after game?
One of the things I found very curious was, in the UK, especially in the Championship, you play Saturday, Tuesday.
Yeah.
And it's the same as playing Friday, Monday, but for some reason, Friday and Monday seemed a hell of a lot worse. I just couldn't understand why. It just felt like the games were way closer together. Am I right in saying that the League of Ireland has the longest off season in Europe?
Well, not quite the longest, but it's up there. Yeah, it's up there. Yeah, it's up there.
Right. So I mean, you could probably spread it out a little bit there. I don't know how that impacts clubs financially, having to pay players. People that are only on that aren't on 52-week contracts. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but it was crazy. Friday, Monday was awful, to be honest with you.
I suppose you had no weekend at all. I mean, that's the thing. Ultimately, I don't know, is that the reason that? I don't know.
Well, you'd be off on a Saturday and the Sunday you couldn't actually train properly because you're playing the Monday.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. So what are you going to do the next year or two? Do you have sort of work lined up in terms of because your badges obviously are long, but it takes so long to get them as well.
Yeah, I think it does, to be honest with you. But look, right now, lads, I'm happy to chat to you because, I'm not changing nappies or washing bottles at the minute. So I'm kind of.
We have to let you go in 10 minutes. So I mean, what about after that?
I'll be back to work then after that. Lads, I'll be washing bottles again and collecting dirty nappies and stuff. So keep me here as long as you want, to be honest with you.
Let him take over the show and we can go to Croke Park
Just don't tell anyone that you've gone off air. Just sit there and chat for a while longer.
We've all done that. There's been another goal in the Premier League at long last. It hasn't been flowing in the 3 o'clock kickoffs. Bournemouth against Sheffield United. Peter Hood.
It's Bournemouth 1, Sheffield United 0, roughly against the run of play. Bournemouth have taken the lead through Chris Meffam. A free kick not cleared. Dean Henderson produced a good save initially, but it was Chris Meffam, the Welsh defender, there to ram the ball home and give Bournemouth possibly an undeserved lead. The closest in the second half we've seen to a goal has all come from Sheffield United. McGoldrick's gone close. Ender Stevens was nearly into goal, but was denied. It's Bournemouth 1, Sheffield United 0.
Let's go and check in at Crystal Palace against Everton. Ian Beach, is that one?
Crystal Palace 0, Everton 0. Still Everton look the stronger team. Gylfi Sigurdsson's had a chance that was cleared off the line, and it wasn't a particularly well hit effort. He kind of deflected it towards goal, but Palace goalkeeper Vicente Guaita was beaten. Patrick Van Arnholt was behind his goalkeeper and hooked it clear. Still wondering if Wilfried Zaha might come on. The Palace supporters have been singing his name, but Roy Hodgson's showing no signs of even warming him up. It's Palace 0, Everton 0.
Well, that's not great man management, is it, Damien? The supporters want to see him on. He's just leaving his best player sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
He's on the pitch now, though.
He's just come on.
Yeah, just come on, yeah. So
it did work eventually.
Yeah, but Wilfred only came back on Monday by all accounts because he was at African Nations and stuff like that. So I mean,
either way, he might have been on the bench.
I don't think he would have started the game anyway, and risking an injury with him is a massive thing now, so they're going to have to be very, very careful with his training loads and the amount of minutes that he plays early on until they get him fit,
Another goal at Vicarage Road. Watford against Brighton. Andrew Shield.
Watford 0, Brighton 2. Only the scorer just seconds after coming on as a substitute, sweeping home at the near post. A really good low cross from Montoya. Before that, we'd seen the first invocation of VAR at Vicarage Road. Pereira's free kick struck a defender in the wall. Pereira furiously demanded VAR for handball. He got his demand, and the conclusion was no penalty. Go away, Mr. Pereira. So a goal from Andone makes it Watford 0, Brighton 2.
All right, so it looks like it's going to be a very good start for Graham Potter and Brighton, winning 2-0 away from home in that game. Tomorrow we have a double-header live and off the ball. Premier League back every Sunday. Newcastle against Arsenal at 2 o'clock. Pat Nevin and Stephen Doyle at that. And then myself and Kevin Kilban will be at Old Trafford, possibly celebrating. Manchester United against Chelsea kicks off at 4:30. Just trying to do a bit of prep for this over the last couple of days, Damien. Very hard to know what sort of team and what to expect from Chelsea this season under Frank Lampard.
Yeah, I think obviously going to go with a very young team. They're probably, I don't know what remit he's been given Frank, really, to be honest, whether they're expecting Champions League or just Europa League football or what, but the squad is going to be very, very light. They lost their best player. David Luiz has just gone to Arsenal, so it'll be interesting for Frank, but maybe it's just a year where he's just got to develop young players and do the best he possibly can.
Goal at Turf Moor. They're flying in now. Burnley against Southampton. Let's get this report.
Burnley 1, Southampton 0, and Ashley Barnes has broken the deadlock. It all came about from a high hook clearance from Eric Peters that totally caught the Saints defence off guard as Ashley Barnes managed to break through, latching onto the ball one-on-one, and he slotted through the legs of Angus Gunn. It's Burnley 1, Southampton 0.
No Irish goals.
No.
This is Are you going to have to drop it into the last 15 minutes, even though we're not here?
No. Neil will do it if there is a goal, but
Neil will do it. No. Neil is desperate to get on Irish. Like, lads, finish up. I want to get on.
Sounds like McGoldrick's
I need my time.
Can I ask Damien one last question for the old swan song?
If I miss the throw-in, God help you. Ask him. So he's going to be back another week. He's no choice.
I find the atmosphere at Premier League games comparatively shit, really, to be honest. But I did love Selhurst Park. I thought it was like just
comparatively crap to what?
Compared to like Eastern Europe, we were at a game the other night with 6,000 people. Carabag, way better atmosphere than like Anfield or anything like that. Miles better. Totally. English football atmosphere is crap. But I love Selhurst Park. I have to say the lads in just behind the goal. What was it like playing?
I was in Selhurst Park. Probably the best atmosphere of any Premier League game. The 3-3 that night when the man himself smashed one in from 20 yards.
Yeah, listen, they do generate a good atmosphere there. Those the home, that's called the Holmesdale end there. And they're fantastic. They bring drums. They bring a lot of the banners. They're you're probably like anti-establishment or whatever they are. They're always complaining about the price. They never get on the telly because they never show up, but they're always complaining about the price of football and kick-off times and stuff. If Palace are playing at Newcastle at 12 o'clock on a Sunday morning, how are they supposed to get there and stuff like that? So they're always kind of complaining about stuff like that, which is very, very good. Obviously, that's stuff that I'd never get shown on TV.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's just sanitised because it doesn't suit the overlord. And
they have
so somebody who's wearing a Gazprom.
Gazprom.
I just like the jersey. I thought if you wear this to a Dublin Mayo game, like people would be like, "What is that? What is that?" But I'm actually up for Mayo. Very much. Very much.
Dan, thank you for coming in. Ross Munnelly. Ross Munnelly's at Croke Park for us this evening. He's going to be building up to Mayo against Dublin. We'll keep you up to date with everything that's happening in the Premier League. The latest is Bournemouth 1, Sheffield United 0. Burnley are 1-0 up against Southampton. Scoreless between Palace and Everton. And it's Watford 0, Brighton 2. Damien, we won't tell anyone that you're not on air. You can sit there for the next hour. Just relax. Get a little bit of zen before you got to go back to the kids.
No, she'll be inside listening to the radio.
Damien, great stuff. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Dad.
Dan, Johnny, thank you. Back every Saturday, 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock. But it is all about Mayo against Dublin now. The build-up is coming next with Ross Munnelly and Neil.
Off the ball on News Talk. Tech Talk with Jess Kelly.
Coming up this week, I'll meet the Irish business using your facial features and Wi-Fi to help brands personalise their offering. I'll visit AIB's Digital Centre of Excellence to hear how the traditional bank is embracing technology, and we'll explore the world of UX design.
Tech Talk.